Hi, everybody. I'm Deacon Dave.
I'm Layperson Lisa.
Welcome to the Deacon Dave and Layperson Lisa show. So we are continuing on Lisa and the Be Healed book, episode 22. So we are moving along quickly. And now we're going to talk about Saint Pope John Paul II, okay, and redemptive suffering. And this can be found on pages 138 through 146 in your book, Lisa.
Yes, so like John Paul II, when we choose to participate in Jesus' redemptive suffering, we allow our worst nightmares to become healing rivers of grace for ourselves and others.
Yeah, like we've been talking over the last couple of episodes, when we embrace our suffering, there's a lot of power that comes through that, right? Because in our weakness, God is made strong.
Yes.
And so we're both going to share some stories of redemptive suffering. I'll go first and we'll let you go second, Lisa, okay? If you have one. So mine was when I had cancer, right? When I was diagnosed in 2017 with cancer, I was having I just finished up most of my diaconate formation, and we were preparing to be ordained, although it got delayed a year. And I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was having I didn't feel like I trusted God. Mm-hmm. And so the first kind of redemptive, powerful moment that came, and I didn't want to share it with anybody, and frankly, I didn't the first time around, was a priest telling me that, this crisis of you not thinking that you trust God is really you learning to trust God at a new level. So he said very clearly, it's not that you don't trust God. Mm-hmm. You're learning to trust him at a new level. So for me, that in and of itself, because I was kind of like dying because I didn't feel like I trusted Jesus. Forget the cancer. Because of that, it was like this, I'm like, I've done all this formation and now I don't trust God, being faced with my mortality. And
yeah.
He's like, oh, no, you're learning to trust at a new level.
Yeah.
Well, I had a recurrence 3 years later, and I had to get 40 days of radiation. And God took the whole thing to a whole new level, right? And I think many people already know this story, but he basically said you're going to share the story as you're going through the radiation, and you're going to pray for other people. So for those 40 days, every day when I went to radiation, I would find someone who was going for treatment. And I would sit and talk to them, and I would ask them their story, just like we're learning in Evangelical Catholic. And then I would ask them to pray, if I could pray for them. And everybody except for one woman who was just a little too raw what was going on with her for her to be to that point. And that's okay. I understood completely. And then I would do a podcast. Mm-hmm. And I would do it in my car when I would walk out.
And that was a Lenten podcast too. So we'll have to put that one out too.
Yeah.
That's not only on Buzzsprout though.
And that one is definitely, I think, worth listening to. Because that's like real life stuff with real life people. I talk to people with so many types of cancer. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
But the power by which God used that was incredible, because I embraced every part of that. And the last day of my treatment, like 50 people, because of this one right here, showed up my last day of radiation. I about fell to my knees. It was so powerful. So instead of crying, I said, let us pray. And it was an amazing, the whole thing was amazing. And that story of embracing that suffering, it just continues to pour forth. Because I get to continue to share that story and the power of how God continues to move in that. What about you, Lisa?
Well, it also helps you empathize and relate to people who are fighting cancer, or a loved one is suffering with cancer.
And so this is like one of the long-term values of embracing any type of particular suffering that you might have, that it makes you uniquely qualified to be able to minister to people who are going through the same thing as you move forward in having your wounds, your suffering redeemed by God. Yeah. And then you bring that same hope to the hopeless, right? That same strength to those who have no strength. And they see that by inviting God in, there's great power in how he can help any single person.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. So what kind of was your whole perspective on that, Lisa?
Well, I just remember the boldness that you had in going up and praying for people, and I think that was kind of the first introduction to the healing ministry.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
this is a few years before we even this even came on our radar. But now that I think about it, that was probably planting
3.5 years.
That was probably planting the seed.
You're right. I never thought about that. Yeah, you just said it right now.
Yeah. But I remember listening to the podcast and just being so touched by all of the stories and how you were being a vessel of hope to people who were fighting a battle, and how that just reaching out to someone like that makes a huge difference, and it can help strengthen them and feel seen and feel known by God.
You know what we should start doing?
What?
We should go there like once a month with our prayer shawls and go pray for
yeah.
people coming in and out of there. Just in an hour, you'll run into 15 or 20 people.
For sure, yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a very powerful segment. I'm Deacon Dave.
I'm layperson Lisa.
See you next time.
Bye.